I mean, one can point to quite a few risks, of course, on the Iranian side, and that's because of the shaky situation that Iran has domestically, and also the uncertain sort of international prospect for those files in which Iran is involved. For example, the case of the nuclear issue or the Ukraine war. So, to be more specific, for example, as part of the agreement, if Iran effectively stops its support for the Houthis or other non-state armed groups throughout the region, as has been asked by the Saudis and others, that would amount to a huge basically prestige, a huge damage to its prestige. The Islamic Republic being the Islamic Republic and being, as they say, the center of this resistance in the region. So
right.
that would cause Iran a sort of losing at least some of its allies. And here it is important to see if Iran is going to get something in return, because one of the incentives for Iran since 1980s, since the early years after the revolution, for working with those non-state actors, apart from this exporting of the revolution idea, has been the fact that Iran has been seen as a pariah, and because of the lack of state allies, it went through building its network of non-state allies. So this is important. So if Iran loses that and gets nothing in return, then that would be huge damage to its to the Islamic Republic's basically interests. So that's one thing. And apart from that, of course, we also need to be, of course, I think, cautious in making any sort of certain prediction about the realization of Saudi investment or other Arab investment in Iran, because as I just mentioned, Saudi Arabia still values a lot its relationship with the United States, and for the same reason that almost a couple of years after UAE normalized with Syria, no investment, no Emirati investment has happened in Syria because of the sanctions, the Caesar Act in that case. The same might happen in the case of Iran if the sanctions remain. So then it would be important to see to what extent China is going to go against the interests of, for example, the interest that it has in relation with the United States, for example, and ignore the sanctions. If China as a great power does that, and if China can guarantee something, in concrete terms, then that might happen. Otherwise, it's really difficult for me to see at the current stage how Iran's expectations of kind of massive Arab investment and a kind of fundamental improvement of economic situation in the country is going to be materialized. It is already affecting the market in Iran, but that's the psychological effect, because one day, literally one day after the agreement was announced, the value of Iran's currency improved, I don't know, to maybe something like
significantly.
20%. But that's the psychological impact, because afterwards, step by step, it's going back to where it was. So unless something concrete happens on the ground, and unless some real investment comes into the country, or some money is released in terms of the assets that are frozen, I just mentioned, then it's, as I said, it would be difficult to predict any substantial shifts.